Hey everybody, welcome to the Hoyt Pro Shop. The man standing next to me, Mr. Sasquatch, needs no introduction.
I have a power stance. I can be taller. I'm trying to get down here.
Trying to come down to my level. You want that short 28 inch?
Yeah, why do I have the 29 AX-2 and you got the Big Daddy? I want to shoot this one, honestly, as a whitetail hunter and someone that, to have something on a backpack or even a horseback. This thing is the bomb right here. Yeah. But this was actually, I shouldn't say the AX-2, but the 33 was the first Hoyt I got again. And even though I was really wanting to get last year the RX-8 and get behind that carbon again, I got a 33, and I didn't set up the carbon for the longest time. I was completely blown away at how awesome the 33 was. But now with the new AX-2 and the new cam system, it honestly was just like polishing the feel for me just a little bit, and the specs kind of improved a little bit as well. But these AX-2 should not be overlooked. This is really, really important because depending on your budget is going to depend on where you fall within several of these models. And honestly, this thing looks like it is all business, right? But when you pick it up, it is surprising that, this feels so light and so balanced. So if you've looked at one of these on a rack, do yourself a favor and pick it up and see how it feels, because these things honestly are a machining masterpiece. I haven't seen workmanship like these AX-2s in aluminum. They are spectacular. There's so many small details to them, and they are so rigid. And the tune, there's not like the flex that we ever had to deal with. These things are just down the pipe, all business from the shooting line to the target.
Yep. And a lot of that comes to, again, like you said, that design, opening up the back end of that riser allows us to do multiple things, right? We reduce the total mass weight, but creating that network through the entire riser, we're adding and increasing the stiffness and rigidity.
Yeah.
So I feel like I get much better and faster target acquisition, and I don't get like an erratic response out of the bow. It's softer on the shot, it's quieter, and like you said, tuning wise, I can eyeball pretty much everything straight down the pipe and walk right through, hit my bullet hole, and I'm already on the range.
Yeah. Let's put these two bows side by side, because I think this would be important for people to be able to see what these two look like. And what's really impressive about these is I'm a tall guy. Obviously, if I stood up all the way, it might be out of frame. But
I'm standing on a box, and you guys don't know that. So
even with the 32, the string angle fits me like a 35 or 36-inch bow would have years ago. But the performance that I'm getting out of the cams, and I'm actually curious, I haven't talked to you about this on like where you're putting your draw stops, but both of these bows honestly are really friendly when it comes to like the size, and whether you're spot and stalk, crawling through canola is always a nightmare. Tree stand, something compact like this, or something on your back, something on horseback. Having that compact bow is awesome, but the bigger one still feels like a smaller package, even though technically it is the bigger one. But one of the things that I just continue to tell people when they say, like, what's the real difference with Hoyt? And it's like, look at this thing. You could drive over it. They are so robust. Even the thickness of the cams, the bows are all business. Like, the one thing that I just don't like is when a rig is not robust enough to travel. And I think Hoyt has always been a single bow in my bow case, which that wasn't always the case. I used to travel with multiple bows, but these things are just bulletproof from the top to the bottom. But one of the things I was curious about with you is, what's your preference on the cam stop? position, because I know a lot of people want the extra hard. I don't. I've shot them both ways, and I've gone back to just the regular.
And for me, it depends on what release I'm shooting.
Okay.
So if I'm shooting my index trigger, I do lean towards the extra hard wall.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like I am as aggressive or pull as much
Right.
with my index.
Yeah.
But when I'm shooting my button, or especially my hinge, I actually flip those and I
Yeah.
go to the hard wall.
Okay.
For me, what it does is it gives me a mental reset where I have that 1/16 of an inch on that back wall, that when I settle and start to pull, that little bit of difference between the two wall settings allows me to mentally relax the muscles in my forearm and my hand.
Yeah.
And my shot breaks much quicker.
Yeah. These are, if you're not familiar with Hoyt, these are so nice. It's one simple screw. Use a Torx wrench. You'll back out that one screw, and this cable stop. So as this cam rotates around, this stop right here is hitting on the cable. And you can turn this. Right now it's pointed out, so you can see this is, more of like pointing where the tail end is closer to the edge of the cam. Otherwise, if you remove those screws, this one would go down there and that one would go down there, and it would be flipped around so that this isn't so far away from the axle. So by taking that stop and bringing it closer to the axle, it's going to have a little bit softer feel with less demand. And then when you flip it to where it's furthest away from the axle, that is where, you're going to have to do your job of being hard on that wall, pulling hard on it. Why it's named that way, right?
Yep.
But those two little variations, you may not realize how much that can change your shooting. It certainly changes mine downrange. And especially if, honestly, like during hunting season, when you're not in the zone of practicing and getting a lot of reps, I tend to tell people I'm like more lazy. I'm a lazy shooter then. I'm not really used to my back wall. Having it on the regular instead of the extra hard has really been nice. And it's a small feature, but it makes a big, big difference.
Well, and especially if you have to come to full draw before you're ready, as an animal's coming in and they hold up, it's going to give you more forgiveness because you don't have to be as active, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's going to translate to.
Now, another thing that's cool about the AX-2s is that you can actually feed your cable-driven arrow rest cord through that portion of the tech. And this is important because on the aluminum models, there is more thickness to the riser, and you can tell like through some of these through slots here, widening that platform has translated into better accuracy downrange. But because that's getting widened, obviously if that cord was having to go around that, you would have wear on the bow itself, but also wear on the cord. So just being able to feed that through there and have it go directly into the cable that you need, and to contain that cord from not getting out and maybe getting into some quivers that come down. I've noticed, some of like the rear deployment ones, they're like dangerously close to that where they could connect and contact it. So this is just a lot of little details to where if you haven't seen an AX-2, pick one off a dealer's rack and start to look at the engineering and the craftsmanship in the machining of this bow. It really is spectacular. This is, in my opinion, the best made aluminum bow that's fully machined on the market.